All right, so 2022's Everything Everywhere All at Once is written and directed by Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan, better known as the Daniels. And if you're not familiar with this writing and directing duo, they also worked on Swiss Army Man and the DJ Snake and Lil Jon Turned It Down for What music video, which, if you've seen that music video, it's a lot like this movie, just batshit crazy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of craziness to this movie. There's a lot of very inappropriateness, is that a word, to this movie. So for that reason, this review will be age restricted because this video will not be for children because of the stuff I talk about, and this movie is not for children. So don't let your kid watch this one, please. It'll ruin their childhood. But yeah, this movie is. Oh, I already said the writers and directors. Never mind. So let me give you the synopsis here. An aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure in which she alone can save the world by exploring other universes, connecting with the lives she could have led. The villain of this film that they're, and yes, there is a villain to this film. The villain that they're trying to essentially stop is Jobu Tupaki. And I don't really want to get too deep with this villain in particular for spoiler reasons. I don't want to get into who they are, who they're played by, and what their end goal is and what's going on with them. But just know that this villain is absolutely insane and just mind bending with the things that they do. Very great villain in this movie, but also just very layered as well. There's so many layers to the villain. It's a great villain overall because it's not just one note. It's not just trying to be one thing. It's a lot of different things on top of one thing, if that makes sense, I guess. And you do have a multiversal aspect to this movie. So, the kind of one thing layered on top of, yeah, it kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So yes, this is a multiversal movie. So it's a sci-fi movie, it's an action movie, it's a martial arts movie, it's a little bit of a romance movie, it's a wee bit of a little family movie. It's definitely a comedy, and I mean, I don't even know what else to add there. There's a lot of different types of movies in this one movie, but at its core, I really would say that this is a slice of life movie. Which, for the craziness of this film, calling it a slice of life movie just seems like an absolute joke, but it's really not, because at its core it has a really heartfelt story to it that by the end of the film has me in tears. I will be honest, I watched this in theaters when it came out, and I wasn't a huge fan of it the first time. I thought there were just too many different wacky things going on, and for me personally, like, I just wasn't having an easy time latching on to Evelyn as a character, played by Michelle Yeoh in here. Excuse me, Evelyn Wang. Excuse me again. Jeez. Always when I start recording, it's just when my body starts to produce hiccups and burps and whatever it might be. But yeah, Evelyn Wang is played by Michelle Yeoh here. And the first time watching, I was just like, I can't get with this character. But this time around, especially after seeing a movie called Turning Red, very low budget film that I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of. Um, there's aspects to the culture that I kind of didn't understand at the time, and kind of understood more with that movie and can appreciate more now. Because yes, she, as I said in the plot synopsis, is a Chinese immigrant, and the way it usually is with mothers and daughters, and the daughter here, Joy Wang, is played by Stephanie Su, very brilliantly, I might say. And yeah, I mean, the relationship between Chinese daughters and mothers is rarely ever good. From a lot of people I've kind of heard from on different platforms and movies, shows, YouTube, personally, just all that different kind of stuff. Like, that's a very common thing that you hear from that culture is the relationships between the Chinese mothers and daughters. Not always the best. Maybe that's an understatement for some families, but yeah, that's kind of something you go into here, is having this strain in their relationship, and you also have a strain between her and her husband's relationship, Wayman Wang, played by K. Hugh Kwan, which, if you are not familiar with that actor, I forget exactly which Indiana Jones movie it is, but he played Short Round in one of those Indiana Jones movies. I would love it if he came back in the new Indiana Jones movies, but we'll see. But he will be showing up in season 2 of Loki on Disney Plus, so that'll be very interesting to see him there. I don't know for sure if he's won any awards for this movie yet, but I did hear he probably got nominated. Um, Man, really, when it comes to any other awards like Golden Globes and all that kind of stuff, if it's not the Oscars, I typically don't pay as much attention, which I don't know. Is that bad? I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think he should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this movie. Um, and I think he might have won an award already for Best Supporting Actor for a different award, just not the Oscars, or at least nominated, or at least, rumored to be nominated. So he is very much deserving of that because he's fantastic in this movie, and I can't wait to see more from him going forward. Definitely has a resurgence, and it's somebody I feel like we haven't really heard much from since Indiana Jones, I guess. But I mean, I wasn't really alive when Indiana Jones, or that particular Indiana Jones movie came out, so I guess I wasn't really around to see him in more stuff at the time. But yeah, loved him in this movie. Honestly, I would even dare say that he might be my favorite character, just because you really feel for his character in this movie, because Evelyn, just the way she is, she's stubborn, and you can understand that she's stubborn and she says mean things, but she says them because she cares and she isn't saying them to be mean. It's just how she communicates, and she doesn't know any other way. But he's like trying so hard. He's trying so hard to keep everything together and keep a smile on his face and make everybody happy. And you just see it get the best of him sometimes, and you really feel for his character. And then Evelyn as a character, it's just so fascinating to see her and her mindset just get her universe expanded and see things that she never thought she would see. And it just really changes the course of her whole, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Her whole story arc, I guess. But yeah, Stephanie Sue in here, you know, I don't know. I'm trying to like think of certain things to say about her character without really kind of spoiling the certain things that go on in the movie between her and her mom. But her character, I would just say overall, um, she's the youth. She's the one that people can kind of relate to, I guess, in the sense of like, it doesn't have to just go for Chinese, families and whatnot, Chinese mothers and daughters, or Chinese, you know, or really just mothers and daughters, or mothers and sons, parent child dynamics in general. People can relate to that kind of dynamic, of having maybe an overbearing parent, and not knowing how to process that, and just having it kind of control your life, and just kind of ruin situations, and not know how to deal with other situations, and you don't know how to really talk to them, and I don't know. So it's just like one of those things, somebody in there for I guess younger audiences to relate to, in a way, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass right now, but yeah, let's talk about some dildo fights. Yeah, this movie has dildo fights in it. Sorry, I just wanted to interject that just for a little bit of for entertainment value, I guess. But yeah, that's how crazy this movie is. There are dildo fights in this movie. But yeah, also in the cast, I did want to mention this actress here, Jamie Lee Curtis, legendary actress. Everybody knows her. She plays Deirdre Beardre. Very weird character. She works for the IRS, and you can just tell, her along with everybody else, they're just having so much fun with this film, and just with the material that they're given, because it's unlike anything that I've ever seen, and I'm sure it's unlike anything they've ever participated in. But yeah, also in the cast, James Hong as Gong Gong, the grandpa to Joy Wang, father to Evelyn, father-in-law to Waymond. Who else do we have here? We have Tally Meadow as Becky Streger, the girlfriend of Stephanie Sue, or Joy Wang, I should say. We have Jenny Slate as Debbie the dog mom. Jenny Slate, I mean, wanted to mention her because she's a big actress. She's very funny. We have Harry Shum Jr. as Chad. Forgive me if I'm remembering this wrong, but wasn't he in the Maze Runner movies? I watched the first one, and I'm pretty sure he was in that film. But I've seen him in a couple things, and I definitely like him as an actor, so he's pretty good, and he's hilarious in here. He kind of has like one of those small kind of multiversal cameo type of things. So one of those kind of, it almost feels like a Family Guy, cutaway scene of just like crazy shit happening, but you're just like basically traveling to a different, universe and seeing different characters doing different things. But yeah, that's pretty much the main cast I want to mention here. I also wanted to mention, I have it written somewhere, Andy Lee, who played the Death Dealer in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Very popular martial artist as well as a stunt performer in the Hollywood industry. And he's worked on a lot of really cool films. There's one in particular called, I think, The Paper Tiger or The White Tiger or something like that. Something with a tiger in it, which is a movie I need to watch. I need to get more into martial arts movies. I think I said that before. But yeah, he's really cool in this movie. Just to see him, like, for the small moments I see him in, I'm just like, hey, I recognize that guy. Because if you've ever watched Corridor Crew, they do like the stuntmen react, VFX artists react and whatnot. I believe he was on an episode of that, if not a couple. And yeah, he just seems really cool. I believe he's actually worked alongside Jackie Chan before. And speaking of which, with Ke Huy Quan as Wayman Wang, yeah, there's elements of his character in certain action scenes that really do remind me of Jackie Chan. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself here, but this is the second take of me doing this review, so if I'm repeating things that I've already said, I apologize. But yeah, there was one other thing I was going to say. Great cinematography, great camera work, great editing, great fight choreography, just a lot of really greats in general. This movie, like I said, does a lot of things really right. And I don't know if I said this before, but the aspect ratio changes, so you get widescreen and full screen. So I think that's really cool. Let me see here. I already mentioned all the cast members I want to mention. There is like one person in particular I was gonna mention, but I'm not gonna do it because for the people that haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. But it's one of the funniest things in this movie, probably my favorite thing in the movie that just cracks me up whenever I think about it. It involves Harry Shum Jr.'s character. So if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention in terms of the cast, because I feel like there was just something I was thinking about, but I can't remember at the moment, so I guess we're just going to keep moving. But yeah, everybody in here does a great job in terms of acting. Yeah, there's subtitles in this movie, because there's times where they're speaking in Chinese. There's other times where they're just not speaking at all, and you just got to read the text. So for an acid trip for a movie that people probably got high before watching, there's quite a decent amount of reading in this movie, which I obviously don't mind. I don't mind reading subtitles whatsoever. I believe I watched. Actually, no, I think I did watch Squid Game with the sub version. I'm sorry, I know, but there's some animes that I've watched a little bit of that I do watch or I meant dub for the Squid Game thing. I get them mixed up, but I watched the subtitles for like some other animes like Death Note and whatnot. But for that in particular, just to get through it quick and review it, which by the way, review is over on the podcast, not on YouTube. But yeah, just to like get through it quickly, I did the dubbed version. But yeah, I don't mind reading subtitles. Oh my god, don't mind reading subtitles at all, especially with great movies like Parasite, and there's one called Minari that I really like too. But Parasite, another great movie I'd recommend if you haven't watched that. I believe it's a South Korean film. But let me see here. Oh yeah, I gotta mention this movie's batshit crazy. I already mentioned that. Trust me, there's no getting past that fact. Yeah, we literally see there's a scene in here, and I hate to like give certain things away, but there's literally a scene where you see her whole life flash before her eyes, and it's like, that thing we say when we're about to die. It's like I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. She literally saw her whole life flash before her eyes, and obviously you don't see her from a kid growing up, and you don't follow her for that long. You see her as an adult, with an adult child, and yeah, it's just kind of their way of like showing everything that kind of happened in her life. And they go back to some stuff, and obviously some stuff changes because of the multiverse. But yeah, I mean, they do that to kind of like show different things that happened to her along her life to kind of get her to the point that she's at. And that's just like genius writing right there, just to kind of do that all in one. And it also kind of reminded me of Inside Out a little bit with the way that they did it. But let me see here. It takes about a half hour to like really get into it, and then at times it can slow down a little bit. Which, you know, for me personally, I have ADD, so it's hard to like keep my attention, especially when you go from something crazy happening to kind of slowing down for a bit to going to something crazy happening. But it gets to a certain point where the craziness just like doesn't stop. It never ceases. And then when the slow moments come, they're even more impactful because you're just like, oh my God, there's so much going on. I just want to get back to the story. And then it's almost like the film knows when you say that, and it's just like, oh, you want some more story? Okay, here you go. You know, it has the perfect balance of just like crazy entertainment, just like being wild, and also telling a good story. It balances both very well. Um, but yeah, it has great action, great humor, and some wacky random shit. But down to its core, like I said, it is a heartwarming story. The multiversal aspects are both fascinating and hilarious. There's so many different things they do. There's only a couple that I will mention here, but there's different versions of Evelyn that you'll see, like Chef Evelyn, Opera Singer Evelyn, Kung Fu Evelyn. But there's so many other types and so many versions that I don't want to mention. All I will mention is that there's one version that involves your hands, and they have a little scene that's reminiscent of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which, by the way, shout out to Barbie for doing that in the trailer recently. But there's a scene with that, and so many movies have like tried to do 2001: A Space Odyssey scenes and like kind of parody it in a way, but I haven't seen anything do it as well as this movie does. It's one of, you know, maybe next to the whole Harry Shum Jr. thing, is one of the funniest things in this movie. Maybe it even tops that for me, but um, there's so many different things they do with the multiversal aspects that are hilarious. And it's kind of like Doctor Strange. They don't spend a whole lot of time in each. There's particular ones that you spend more time with. But you just get flashes of so many different things, so many different types of universes, and just different types of filmmaking, different types of maybe even animation, maybe. Maybe seeing her as different types of creatures and stuff like that. I don't know. But all of it's just small glimpses. There's a particular scene where you see a lot of glimpses of that. And the whole time, like it just keeps going and going and going. It's one of those scenes where if you have epilepsy, probably not a good movie for you to watch for that scene in particular, but just keeps going and going. And when I was watching it, I was just like backing up slowly. I was like, oh, and by the time it was over, I was like, holy shit. And movies don't do that with me a whole lot of the time, especially just like with that build. It was insane. Um, but yeah, overall, I don't think I gave too much about the movie away. I definitely left a lot to be enjoyed for the people that haven't watched this, and I highly recommend people watch this. I don't know for sure if it's on any streaming platforms. You'll have to let me know down in the comments below. Like I said before, I don't know if I said this before actually, but I bought it on Blu-ray I think it was Black Friday. Yeah, it was like maybe like $7 to $8, and then it had the digital code as well. So I ended up watching it on my Vudu, which is where I watch a lot of the movies I own because I have a lot of digital movies. But yeah, I watched it there, and yeah, I'm not too sure where you can actually find it in terms of streaming services. Maybe HBO Max, maybe Amazon Prime. I feel like I've heard maybe it's on Amazon Prime, but I'm not sure. But yeah, you guys would have to look into that and hopefully comment down below and let people know where they can find it. But yeah, in terms of a movie that is potentially on streaming, I will rank it for the streaming service ranking system. We have premium subscription, makes your subscription seem like a bargain. We have standard subscription, worth the price of the subscription. We have basic subscription, you know, not quite what you're paying for, but not bad. We have free trial, worth watching if it's, you know, a free trial. And then cancel your subscription. You should cancel your subscription and ask for a refund. This is definitely a premium subscription. This is worth buying a subscription to a streaming service for. This is worth buying on digital or on Blu-ray or whatever it might be. And in terms of it being, a movie theater movie, ranking it as a movie, that's not on streaming, I guess. Just the typical movie ranking system. You have premium ticket, standard ticket, discounted ticket, and free ticket. Speaks for itself. I would definitely give this a premium ticket. This is one of my favorite movies of the year, and it's crazy that I didn't like this as much as I do now the first time that I watched it. But have you seen 2022's Everything Everywhere All at Once? What did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? I definitely love this movie. There are times, and I didn't really say this, I probably should have said this before, but there are times where it slows down a little bit too much for me. Actually, I did say a little bit of that, but I don't think I drove that to the point enough that it does slow down a little too much at times for me. And, it is a little bit longer than it needs to be. I do think there's probably a decent amount that could have been cut out because it's over 2 hours long. It doesn't need to be that long, not quite, but there is enough story to tell within that runtime, and it doesn't feel exhausting by any means. But yeah, have you not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? Are you planning on watching it anytime soon? Why or why not? I would love to know. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you. Really, just any comments down below. I would love to hear from you. I pretty much respond to all my comments. So anything and everything, everything everywhere. Yeah, I'm funny. I know. But yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.